People in the Fever were like, y'all.
That's not my point. There's a lot of other going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be.
Over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some new shit going on around there.
It's a lot. Yeah. So you have players that are very significant on this Indiana Fever team that are like, I don't
want to be here.
This is where I want to be.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Sheryl Swoopes grabbed the mic and claimed that no free agent would want to sign with the Indiana Fever? She said players would avoid the team because of locker room problems and a so-called toxic culture. Well, that opinion has officially been proven completely wrong and added to the list of the worst takes in WNBA history.
What kind of things do you
I'm not in the locker room.
Okay. But
I'm talking about more social media.
Okay. It's a turn. Right? It's a turn, right? It's really a turn of the tides.
Well,
right?
Gil, here's my point. The beginning of the year, right? Everybody saw it.
Now, Indiana has just dominated free agency, and the one calling out that old message isn't some random Twitter user, it's Sue Bird. But before we dive into Sue's basketball wisdom, let's give Sheryl Swoopes' original comments the attention they deserve. This wasn't just a casual opinion, it was a Hall of Famer with a legacy using her platform to suggest that Indiana was a place where careers went to fade away. She claimed the locker room was a mess, that top talent would never choose the Fever, and that the franchise wasn't ready to support a player with generational talent.
So that takes us to Indiana, which I think everyone agrees right now has gone from, a team that made the playoffs last year, lost in the first round. They were building all these young pieces, of course, Caitlin Clark, to now an immediate contender with all the moves that they've made.
But here's the reality. As free agency played out, players are lining up to join the Caitlin Clark show. And that's exactly what Sue Bird, the basketball legend and expert, saw coming. When Sue speaks, people pay attention.
I think Natasha Howard certainly stands out. I loved playing with Tosh.
But you cannot say enough about
I cannot say enough about
yeah.
Tosh. I really enjoyed playing with her. I think she really is she's just this glue player that doesn't get enough shine for what she does, because a lot of what she does doesn't show up in the box score, but she just is like always in the right place at the right time. And a player like that, I think complements what Indiana is building.
Sue doesn't throw out compliments just for the sake of it. She's not looking for attention. She's a 4-time WNBA champion, a 5-time Olympic gold medalist, and the point guard behind one of the most dominant stretches in WNBA history with the Seattle Storm.
So Sue Bird is one of the greatest point guards of all time in the WNBA. And she's someone who obviously is a part owner in the Seattle Storm. So hyping up another team is a bit of a conflict of interest, if we're being honest.
So, what did Sue say? First, she gave her trademark veteran advice, telling everyone to slow down on the Indiana Fever's immediate title talk. That's classic Sue, steady and calculated. She reminded everyone that championships aren't won on Twitter or in group chats celebrating Clark's deep threes.
Obviously, through trade, added Sophie Cunningham, a player that, I would say a 3-and-D type player who has, been to the finals, so has that playoff experience. She's also just tough. She's mentally tough. She's physically tough. She brings an edge to them. And then last but not least, they added DeWanna Bonner, which really I think is the one that for most people took it to another level. So now you're like, oh, they're a contender.
But here's what the casual fans missed. Sue wasn't downplaying the Fever. She was sending a message to the whole league. When you look closely at her words, the real point is clear. Indiana is building something special, and it's happening quickly. This isn't just the Caitlin Clark show, even though she's the star, hitting deep threes and making defenders look silly. Sue sees the bigger picture and the solid foundation being built around her.
Biggest part of DB joining this team is that she's already played for Steph. So I think that's going to help bridge the gap, because as we go along, we're going to talk about Vegas and Seattle, Atlanta. It's really going to be which
Stephanie
team.
White being the head coach.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you.
Was the head coach of Connecticut, now the head coach of Indiana.
Yeah. So it's really going to be the team that finds their chemistry. This season is short. I mean, they're adding games, but it's still pretty short season.
Short, yeah, still short.
And it's going to be the team that finds chemistry. So having Stephanie White there, having already coached DB, really does help.
Aaliyah Boston, a powerhouse center set to dominate the paint for the next decade. Kelsey Mitchell, a top scorer who's fought through tough times and is now shining. Lexi Hull, the tough, hustle player every great team needs. And now, free agents are eager to join. That's the game-changer Sheryl Swoopes didn't expect. Caitlin Clark has flipped the script.
Kelsey Mitchell's balling, Caitlin continuing to impress, and she's going to break records nonstop for the next couple of years.
Aaliyah Boston, a dominant center ready to control the paint for years to come. Kelsey Mitchell, an elite scorer who's battled through challenges and is now thriving. Lexi Hull, the gritty player who every championship team needs. And now, free agents are lining up to join. That's the twist Sheryl Swoopes didn't see coming. Caitlin Clark has completely changed the game.
There's something about the way she plays the game, her passing, her shooting, that people really identify with. I really feel like we're poised and we're set up for a great, successful next era of Fever basketball.
When Sue Bird tells you a team is about to make an impact, you listen. Sue isn't just a retired legend throwing out hot takes to stay in the spotlight. When she speaks, it's a warning. And her message about the Indiana Fever is clear: this team isn't on the way, they've arrived.
3 WNBA MVPs in your career. Would you consider each of those 3 seasons as dominant seasons for yourself?
No.
I can't, bro. Sheryl Swoopes is willing to lie about her own career before she even admits that Caitlin is dominant.
Sheryl Swoopes completely missed this part with her outdated view on locker room issues. The Fever didn't just get lucky when Caitlin Clark showed up. Sure, she's the spark, but their success didn't happen overnight. It's been built piece by piece, year after year. The Fever put in the work, enduring empty arenas and tough losing streaks, while Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and the rest of the core kept pushing forward. Clark wasn't the original plan, she's the game-changing piece. Sue Bird sees this. The Fever have a solid foundation. The front office didn't just sign players to grab attention, they built a team with real purpose. They created a system where Clark can thrive without needing to score 30 points every night just to keep the team competitive. This isn't a desperate team hoping one player can do it all, it's a well-constructed machine, designed to win, with that one generational superstar leading the way.
To you about the experience, the champions that have been added to this one.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what everybody talked about when we were in the playoffs last year of, we really didn't have much experience at all playing in playoff games. I don't know what the exact number was, but we really lacked in that area. So just adding pieces of, players that have been in this league, they know what it takes to win. They know what it takes to get to the finals. They know what it takes to win championships. I think it's exactly what we needed in our locker room. So it's just exciting, but also they're not only really good basketball players, they're really great leaders and really great people. And I know the front office obviously really prioritized that and looking for the pieces that we wanted to add. So really thankful for that as well.
Look at the free agency moves. That's where the truth hits you hard. Indiana is no longer a place for forgotten veterans or stat-padding guards to end up. Suddenly, the Fever are a destination. Players aren't avoiding Indiana, they're marking it on their calendars like it's the NBA All-Star Weekend.
Sydney Colson is joining the Indiana Fever. What does that mean? Indiana is just being so greedy right now. They took DB, they took Natasha. Now they got Sydney Colson. Why would they take Sydney from us?
And why? National TV games, packed arenas, Caitlin Clark's star power, and most importantly, a young core built to win. Players know that running alongside Clark puts them in the spotlight. Her presence turns every Fever game into must-watch TV, and every teammate benefits from that attention. Sponsorship deals, bigger brand opportunities, they're all on the table. That's what Angel Reese and Sheryl Swoopes fail to see. Clark doesn't just elevate herself, she lifts everyone around her. Sue Bird knows this better than anyone. She's seen this blueprint work before. She built it herself in Seattle, first with Lauren Jackson and then later with Breanna Stewart and Jewel Lloyd. Now, she sees that exact same formula taking shape in Indiana, but at a much faster pace.
I think Caitlin Clark is at that ascension point where she's going to be top of the MVP race. We're going to talk about her in terms of stat leaders later, but the way that the Indiana Fever just made a statement around Caitlin Clark and said, hey, we're pushing in the chips. We're ready to win now. And Duana Bonner's obviously, the face of the new pieces that have come in. So obviously that's going to be the biggest needle mover in what Drew said. The market has obviously reflected.
Why? National TV games, packed arenas, Caitlin Clark's undeniable star power, and most importantly, a young core ready to win. Players know that teaming up with Clark puts them in the spotlight. Her presence makes every Fever game a must-watch, and everyone around her gets a boost. Sponsorship deals, bigger brand opportunities, those are on the horizon. That's something Angel Reese and Sheryl Swoopes don't fully get. Clark doesn't just raise her own game, she elevates everyone on the team. Sue Bird understands this better than anyone. She's seen this blueprint work before, building it herself in Seattle, first with Lauren Jackson, and later with Breanna Stewart and Jewel Lloyd. Now, she's watching that same formula unfold in Indiana, but at an even quicker pace.
The future is so bright, and our ultimate goal is to hang another banner in the field house. And our ultimate goal is to come back in here after we win that championship and celebrate again like we did in 2012.
And White isn't coming in blind. She's coached DeWanna Bonner before, one of the most dangerous two-way players in WNBA history. That connection is already in place, the chemistry's been tested, and the trust is there. Bonner isn't just a veteran filling a bench spot for morale, she's a walking mismatch. At 6 feet 4 inches, she can shoot, defend, and bully smaller players in the paint. Even late into her career, she's still a nightmare for defenders, able to guard multiple positions, stretch the floor, and punish smaller players in the post.
I think the biggest needle-moving free agent signing, which was also one of the more surprising moves for me, DeWanna Bonner to the Fever. That was one of the first dominoes that fell, in this offseason.
Now, pair that with Caitlin Clark pulling defenders to the logo and Aaliyah Boston gobbling up rebounds like they're appetizers, and you've got defenses breaking down before halftime. But there's more. Bonner's defensive versatility is exactly what championship teams need. She can switch onto guards, battle with forwards, and anchor rotations alongside Boston. Her presence gives Indiana the ability to close games with a lineup that can defend and stretch the floor, perfect YOF basketball.
You look at the sort of the trend or theme of the Fever offseason, in my opinion, has been adding experience. And DeWanna Bonner has that. She's got a ton of playoff experience. She's obviously somebody who can score. She adds a lot to the defensive end because she's very mobile and she has a lot of length. So I think that's going to help them a lot.
And let's not forget the mindset Clark brings to the table. She's not some wide-eyed rookie trying to fit in. Clark is built differently. She's carried entire college teams on her back in front of sold-out arenas, silenced hostile crowds, and dropped 40 points like it was nothing. She's been under pressure since high school and has only gotten stronger in the spotlight. That's the kind of player who transforms a franchise, not just with points, but with belief. The Fever aren't just hoping to make the playoffs, they're chasing championships. While Sheryl Swoopes holds on to her outdated locker room stories, Sue Bird is watching Indiana build a dynasty in real time.
So excited. The Fever, if you haven't been paying attention, they are really active in ensuring that Caitlin Clark and company have a true contending lineup next season. They have Caitlin Clark, they have Aaliyah Boston, they made sure that they re-signed Kelsey Mitchell. That was a big one. They acquired both Natasha Howard and DeWanna Bonner. They traded for Sophie Cunningham. They still have Lexi Hull. And now they have made a move that is literally my favorite of WNBA free agency. They have signed Sydney Colson, face of the WNBA. If you know, you know.
This isn't just about Caitlin Clark pulling up from the logo and draining threes like it's nothing. It's about how she's changing everything around her, elevating her teammates, breaking down defenses, and turning the Indiana Fever into a powerhouse. Take Aaliyah Boston, already a dominant force in the paint. Now, paired with a guard who stretches defenses to the parking lot, the lane opens up like the Red Sea. That gives Boston all the space she needs to overpower defenders and dominate inside.
Are you in a position where you can add some pieces?
Yes, we are. We're definitely in a position. And I would think that if you are a smart basketball player and you watch the way she plays, you would want to play with her.
Kelsey Mitchell and Lexi Hull are thriving too. Clark's gravity is their golden ticket. Cutting lanes are wide open, and defenders are so focused on Clark's shot that they forget about the other weapons. 1 second, they're doubling Clark, and the next, Mitchell is hitting an uncontested layup or knocking down a corner three. Then DeWanna Bonner steps in, one of the most versatile veterans in WNBA history. At 6 feet 4 inches, she's an all-time scorer, a defensive anchor, and a matchup nightmare. She's not here for a farewell tour, she's here to win another ring.
The market would agree, right? Because after she was signed, they went from a plus 900 to like a plus 450, plus 500. And we saw, obviously that's not entirely Bonner, but it was Bonner and Howard kind of at the same time, or like very close to the same time. So the other thing is, I just think she's such a good fit for this team as like that Iguodala role, right? That the Warriors had back in their earlier runs. And she's almost like an overqualified Iguodala though, right? Like she can guard 1 through 5. She is going to be able to kind of leg off on those really, really tough defensive assignments on any given night because they have the depth they have, right?
It's going to be Caitlin Clark flash show. So it's going to be phenomenal playing with a point guard, like you said, that have a good vision, on the court, because that's like as soon as she get the ball in her hand, she's throwing it up because she already see the person down the court before she even get the ball in her hand. So that's one thing I love about her vision on the court. I really can't wait to catch all those passes and give her all the assists that she needs.